Hi, Nino. Charlotte, I'm gonna head out. I'll fuck you later. Ooh. Hi, Nino.
How you doing?
Doing all right. How are you? Putting out fires?
You know, sometimes I just don't understand people, you know? It's crazy, you know?
People are irrational. You want to someone do something crazy?
Very slimy. You know,
being slimy?
Well, how would you feel if, you know, keep this close to yourself, to your chest, because I don't know what I'm gonna do about it just yet.
Okay.
So, you know how like we were talking about the topic of like, you know, you get like we sometimes get like that. Oh, we don't really need any money, you know, the police departments, because oh yeah, we're making enough, and you know, You know, imagine if the pursuit team was getting a automatic $5 million coming from the state account into their account.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Well, I never really thought about it because, like, I remember we had discussed this like a while back. It didn't really click to me what that was.
How often do they get the 5 million? I knew they got money for
every month.
For their 5 million every. Can I have 5 million every month?
Well, I think I'm going to actually file a lawsuit on behalf of the people and repossess them all.
Repossess all the cop cars or all the money?
All the pursuit vehicles.
Oh.
Yep, and then I'm gonna have it split between you and me. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. They should be coming to us. It
doesn't. Well, and also if they're already, like, there's already an issue of they're making money based on finding people.
Yeah.
Because it means that, you know, it is somewhat merit-based in the sense of the more work that they do, the more money that the department makes. But then if they're not even, they don't even need that money because they're getting money from the state for the things that they need, then what is that money even for? Exactly.
It's just a way to circumvent the people, which you and I are representatives of. It blew my mind because I was talking to Turner, and I'm like, hey, you know, how's things with, you know, like your vehicles or whatever? Like, do you need any money? Right? We can have a budget meeting. I was like, oh yeah, we just got it. Like, yeah, the pursuit account just got another 5 million, and I'm like, huh? I'm like, what do you mean?
Oh.
And that's when it clicked, because I had seen this before and it was kind of hand waved. I thought it was just like, I didn't think anything of it, right? Because like
I knew
in my mind,
they were making money for the pursuit unit. I just didn't know how much it was.
Oh yeah, it's 5 million automated, which never should be happening.
I was making $5 million a month. Like, that's Blaine County doesn't make that much anymore.
Exactly. And then it just like, I had this moment where I'm like, these motherfuckers are getting this money and they didn't tell anybody. It's misappropriation. I mean, look at what we had to do to get the marshal's money, right? We had to make sure it was.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I'm going to go full on board, but there is that part of me that's like, this feels so grimy. Maybe I will file a lawsuit to like repossess it all. You know what I mean?
Well, if you repossess it, right, the state stops paying them, right?
State stops paying them, but then we also get all the assets into state custody, and then maybe we sell it back at 50% and just split it.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I also, you know, I guess if that's the case, like the 5 million. Okay, I'm just trying to do the math here because I know we talked about it at the meeting about how, like, I can probably ask McNulty for all of the money from fines, and he'll give it to me. But that's still 25% when I really don't think the DOJ should be making 75% of that fine money. And I would rather take from the DOJ than take from the BCSO because McNulty's actually using that money for good things for the BCSO. He's sponsoring events and having BCSO
Oh.
attend them. He's doing incentives for patrolling up north, and so he's had me, like, he asked me to lower BCSO's pay from 3,500 to 2,000 so that he can, use BCSO money to incentivize them to do good work and give bonuses, as opposed to using county money.
I think
but,
and I would have to confirm, I think the reason I dodged the 75-25 conversation is I think that's like a federal treasury decision.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that, but it feels like it was a decision that was made based on the times, and the times have changed. And I really, really don't think, especially with the whole like financial administrative costs and everything.
Yeah.
I really don't think that there's ever going to be a concern of like, oh no, Blaine County's making too much money.
No,
no. Stop that from being like inflated,
Yeah, I think for me it's more, I don't necessarily disagree with the notion. It's just I don't know how we would have that conversation. You know what I mean?
Well, here's my thought, right?
Yeah.
However much the BCSO makes in a month from fines, triple that is how much the DOJ is making. So what if I asked for whatever triple that amount is, and I asked them to take that out of the 5,000 that they're making from the DOJ for the pursuit unit, and give that to the county?
I think that would require federal authorization, because I think it's it enters into the realm of accounting that is beyond us. So I don't necessarily...
It doesn't necessarily, because I passed the Gimme Act, which means that technically the BCSO, as well as any other government organization, is allowed to give large monetary gifts to Blaine County. So if I had McNulty give as a gift to Blaine County a certain percentage of all of the BCSO's funding every month, and it just happened to be that it's related to how much they're earning, like maybe I take whatever as a percentage of it, so the more they earn, the more, they'll still earn more, but I'll just take a certain percentage, and then that will, it'll still fall within the rights and discretionary spending.
Yeah. I don't have an opinion. I think my opinion is locked behind, I don't know if the governor, I don't know how to put this in words. I think we could try it. I just don't know what the feds are going to think about that. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing, Nino. I think a lot of the time, especially when it comes to the governor's involvement, I'm of the mindset of ask for forgiveness, not permission, because there's so much that if we have to ask for permission for it, considering the amount of time that we get to see the governor and stuff like that, and also what he said at the meeting about, if you want this to happen, legislate it, right? A lot of the things that we're asking, hey, can
that
we
is
do this?
true.
Can we do that? He says, legislate it yourself. I think that
I just don't know
would
where
rather
this...
do it and then maybe have to stop doing it.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah. I would say definitely go for it. Yeah, I would definitely say go for it and like see, what lines up.
Yeah. Well, I need to send you, I wrote up a constitutional amendment. Roselle edited it for me.
Oh shit, we gotta get there.
Or rather added certain portions of it.
Yeah.
But it's for eminent domain, so we could start potentially seizing properties that are being left abandoned.
Like derelict properties?
Yeah, so the way that I had written it, and and I'm also writing just with the, even though the amendment itself hasn't even reached the docket yet, it's also going to require legislation from both of us.
Okay.
As far as how to use it and the criteria for it. And I was thinking of doing something along the lines of, if a property like Barrett does all of his property stuff. If he sees that a property owner has
that's what I'm trying to say. I don't. That's why I'm not.
Except for asset fee payments for.
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to know.
Period,
see if we're allowed to do it before I touch that.
Property, lock it down
that's
for
exactly.
A week, and either
that's what I think it's for. I could be wrong, but that's why I'm like nervous about like
the process.
Moving
which
that's why I have 400 million. I don't touch it
like an appeals process.
I guess
why
bitch slapped
they
across
haven't
the face.
used their property, why they haven't been around, etc. Or they don't do that, and then after a week, the property goes back into the hands of the county.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that sounds actually pretty reasonable, to be honest.
Yeah, the only other thing that I'm curious about is because I know that a lot of, and I'm just gonna like say it how it is.
Yeah.
A lot of properties are owned by, a clean guy that doesn't wake up. But used by, many criminals for, whatever criminal activity they want to do, and that means that the property is getting actively used.
Oh shit! There are so many people here.
But it's not being used by the owner, and the owner is kind of. But I don't know if I kind of feel like it's not the worst thing to say, like, okay, if the property owner is some guy that doesn't wake up because he's just holding a property for criminals, then maybe that's not something we want anyway. So it would still get reclaimed. And also raided properties can be seized by
I think it should
police,
be going
but
back.
they haven't been doing it.
No, they have been. It goes back to the state, though.
Right. So I would
it
probably
should be going back to the county, to be honest.
Yeah. So that's why I want to talk to McNulty about that too, and basically just say, like, even as far as internal SOPs, when a property gets like when a property gets raided and gets reclaimed, I don't know exactly what the process is for it, but if they can give precedence to or preference, I guess, to the county, and if McNulty calls me, he's like, hey, we locked down a property, we are raided it, we are reclaiming it, even if I have to buy it from the state.
Yeah, but the reclaiming is a court thing. It's not a PD thing.
Right. But they have to go to a judge. Charlotte says they have to go to a judge and get the property reclaimed, but then I guess it goes to it goes back on sale? Does it?
No, that's where the auctions are coming from.
So how do you get the property from the auctions?
Oh,
or not
okay.
from the auctions.
So,
I mean, before the auctions. Like, what happens? Do you buy them?
They don't. Yeah, no. This has been a cooked thing for like a minute. So the history here is that despite the counties being made, the auctions continued to be run by the state. I objected to that because I'm like, that's insane, because the state, or the DOJ, I should say, because the state is uninvolved, right? It's why the pursuit team shouldn't be getting $5 million. There is no state authorization. The governor is not giving, and the state officials are not giving $5 million. That was pre two county system, right? In the same sense, what has been happening is, let's say someone had a drug lab in a building, and the PD, as a part of that court case or a separate court case, can file a seizure, right? If they win the seizure, like, in other words, hey, we proved someone was selling drugs out of this, therefore the property is, was used in the crime, the DOJ has been seizing it and then putting it up for auction in the same way that they do VAF.
But so when they seize it, it's basic, like, do they buy it?
No, they get it for free.
So what if instead of, so
it should be going to the county.
Have you been getting it from them?
No, of course not. No, this is one of the many things I've been.
But you're doing the auctions now, right?
No, those are completely different. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no, the auctions that I've been doing are
just you buy the properties?
Yeah, I've been subsidizing purchases And I've barely
Right.
gotten any. I've only done like, I think like 4 or 5. Like no one
Yeah.
sells this shit. So I sell it back in a lottery fashion. Those are private sales that I'm
Right.
doing. Yeah.
So I guess that's what I'm wondering if so the state seizes the property.
So the state
But-
should not be. The state there is no state seizure. Is the reality, right? You and
Right.
I are the state.
Right.
And
But
so
but currently what's happening, because someone has to be owning the property, right? So
it goes into the name of a judge.
it goes into the name of a judge. So
Yes.
could I talk to the judges and say the judge can just, like, if I legislate it, have the judge transfer the property to me, and then
That's exactly what
or
should
put
be
it back on the
happening.
market or something?
Yeah, I would say without even legislating it, that's what should happen. Honestly, we should talk
Okay.
about it on Monday. This is a good Monday
Yeah.
conversation.
Absolutely.
But once again, the percentage thing, like, just between us, I'm not even. That's one of those things that without a state official knocking on my door and saying, "Okay, this is okay to do," I have a hard time entertaining the discussion just because.
Feels like something you shouldn't have to discuss.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what
Yep.
makes me nervous about it, because there's like, economic black holes for money to exit San Andreas, and I have a
Right.
feeling this is one of those things.
Yeah.
But
There's a
I
very
don't know. I think we
annoying
should
thing that I
ask about
just
it.
realized.
I think we should ask about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I had a very exasperating realization the other day, because I was thinking, oh, I'm doing this eminent domain thing, and I would love to have, more properties owned by people who actually do stuff. And I was thinking about how it would make Blaine County money, and I realized
Yeah.
that because the properties are all owned, even if they're owned by people who never wake up, I'm making all of the money from asset fees that I could possibly be making. So
You're
even
not.
if I sell everything
no. So it's worse because you technically do not need to pay your utility bills ever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we've been losing out on shitloads of money. So,
Well, so
if-
your utility bills, you have to pay them, or else your lights go out?
no.
You just don't have to pay them at all?
Yep.
I don't even know how to pay them.
At City Hall, you got to go over there and
Is that the
pay.
consumption?
Oh, shit.
Soon, okay?
I'm going to have to go in like 2 minutes. Just heads up.
Okay.
There's the
Okay.
gang events down here.
Oh, yeah. Is that the consumption fee?
Yeah, something like
City Hall?
that. So what
Okay.
people have been doing is that, let's say you own a warehouse and it's a $10 million warehouse and it's lined up with, it's got a bunch of electricity usage and
Right.
it's just pumping all kinds of stuff. Apparently you don't even got to pay that. And if you don't pay it, it still goes and the bill keeps getting racked up. But you
Oh.
never lose it. The only thing that you got to pay is like the asset fee. So,
Huh.
and if people
Okay, so that
aren't
seems like
paying
something I should add
it,
to the-
that means the county doesn't make any money.
Right. But in terms of asset fees, because that would still remain an issue. If people are using their properties consistently, they'll still just not pay those if they don't have to.
For 3 months,
Um,
yes.
But basically because all the properties are owned, even if people are only waking up to pay their asset fees,
Mhm.
I'm still making all of the possible money that I could be from Blaine County property asset fees. And so if I seized all of the derelict properties, resold them,
Yeah.
I would make only, I guess, the money from...
Wait, I can I ask a question. Why are you suggesting it be a constitutional change?
I actually thought it didn't need to be, but then Michael said it did, and Grayson said
No.
it probably did.
I
I
Neither of that's
actually
true.
think that the property right, as said in the Constitution, doesn't actually give people the right to. It doesn't actually give anyone the right to own multiple properties, and what it does say is that everyone has the right to own land, which
So-
is currently being infringed upon by the fact that there is no land to own.
Yeah, see,
So a lot of people can't own land. So it's actually a rights violation.
I am going to go and say that while I like the general idea you're going with, I would not be in favor of altering the Constitution for something like this. That's very
It would be
odd.
an addition, but
yeah, well, whatever you want to call it. Like, I would not be comfortable changing the Constitution for something like this. To me, it's like the wrong place for it. However,
that's what I thought,
do
because
agree with you that this doesn't need a constitutional change. It's all it needs is, like in your case, Blaine County legislation that expands on why it is constitutional to get derelict properties.
Yeah,
right?
and I have that all written down in my in the document I sent you. And
if they're non-tax paying, like,
well, the thing is, they are tax paying, but they're just not doing anything else.
No. They're paying property tax, but they're not paying food tax and all these other things, right? So, like, I think if the legislation was written up in such a way where it's like, if you're not doing then you're considered like not even a resident. Yeah, exactly. And you can even
100%.
argue that the right to property is like, you have right to property, right? Like in the Constitution.
Yeah, but it's very strange in the Constitution because it says you have the right to own land and material goods unless it infringes on the rights of others, which doesn't actually imply that the government can't take your material goods.
Yeah, it's infringing on other people's rights to property. If I gotta go. This thing's about to start. But I get where Michael and Grayson might be coming from, but changing the Constitution is definitely not the right.
I've got more ideas about it, but I'll talk to you about it later. I have fun at the event.
All right, easy. You take stay safe.
You too, toodaloo.
Bye. I'm glad she got it afterwards.
On day release.
They do, you know. They